2 weeks ago, I shared about Psalms 29, how the voice of the Lord thunders over the waters, shakes the wilderness, splits the cedars, and strips the forest bare. I shared how every picture that David paints reminds us of one truth, that God is in control. Nothing is out of his authority. And after sitting with Psalms 29, I naturally found myself reading Psalms 30. What surprised me was it felt like it was David's response after encountering the greatness of God. It's as though David spent Psalm 29 looking up at God, and then in Psalms 30, he spends his time looking inwards at himself. David said something that really humbled me. When I was secure, I said, I will never be shaken. That sentence stopped me. Isn't that like us? When life is going well, when money is coming in, when business is growing, when relationships are healthy, when ministry is fruitful, we start to think to ourselves and say, I'm okay. Not necessarily because we stop believing in God, but because somewhere along the line, we quietly begin to depend on ourselves. David recognized that weakness in his heart. Then he says something remarkable. Lord, when you favored me, you made my mountain stand firm. But when you hid your face, I was dismayed. Notice what David realized. The mountain stand firm not because David was strong, but because God was the one holding it up. Everything David thought was stable was only stable because God was the one sustaining it. And that really convicted me. Sometimes we pray the hardest when life falls apart. But what if the greater test is not suffering, but the greater test is success? Because suffering drives us towards God, but prosperity can slowly convince us that we don't need Him as much anymore. And I don't think David is just telling us his story, but he is exposing the human heart. We're so quick to cry out when we are desperate, yet when we are comfortable, we slowly stop seeking the one who gave us everything in the first place. But here's what makes Psalm 30 so beautiful. David cried out to the Lord again, and God answered him. God didn't say, you ignored me when life was good, so now you can deal with this yourself. No. God rescued him again, and that tells me something so incredible about God's love. Our faithfulness may fluctuate, but God's faithfulness doesn't. Our love grows cold, but God's love remains steadfast. We wonder, He welcomes us back. David ends by saying, you turned my mourning into dancing. You removed my sackcloth and clothed me with joy. Not because David deserved it, but because that's who God is. And maybe that's the biggest lesson I'm taking away from these two Psalms together. Psalms 29 reminds us that God is powerful enough to command the storm. Psalm 30 reminds me that God is gentle enough to restore a wandering heart. So today, don't just ask yourself, am I seeking God when life is hard? Ask yourself, am I seeking God when life is good? Because the goal isn't just to need God in our storms, it's to love Him in every season.